Hi, I'm Amy from the Ross Farm, and you are joining us for the first Sheep and Wool School of 2026. We did the series last year, so if you haven't watched those, you can go back and catch up. If you are just joining us from watching our Advent calendar series in the month of December. And if you have been here for the whole thing, then welcome back, and we're super glad to see you. We had some issues late last summer, early fall, and I just couldn't get back in front of the camera for a while. And doing the Advent series in December really, really helped with that. So I'm really excited to get started in January, which is now February, sorry, with our Sheep and Wool School series. So, just a little quick intro for those of you who are joining us for the first time. We will cover one breed per month of my favorite sheep breeds. And each month we will talk about the physical structure, the attributes of the animal, as well as the physical attributes, structure, and processing tips and things to make with the fiber from that animal. So I will tell you in a couple of minutes what our different breed is going to be for this month, but we also go through what I'm working on, what I'm thinking about, what's in season here in Northeast Ohio and Southwestern Pennsylvania. I am back and forth pretty much 50-50 now, trying to keep everything going, and things that are coming up down the road and things that I'm really excited about. We are also going to start a series of shorts where I will be reviewing some of my favorite equipment, some equipment that I own but do not love, and trying to figure out what might be good for you if you're in the market, or what I maybe should kind of get rid of because it's really not for me. I've got a little bit too much stuff, and so I'm making 2026 about merging and purging. So if you have a word that you are using as your theme for 2026, you can drop that in the comments. I love reading your comments. I love interacting with you down in the comment section. And if you have a word this is my new thing. I stopped doing New Year's resolutions because they were always the same thing. It was always like, I want to lose weight. I want to take better control of my finances. I want to, walk more and drive less, and it it was just a whole bunch of platitudes that I never really thought about after about the third week of January. So I've embraced the concept of having a a theme word for the year. And this year for me is merge and purge, which is actually two words. But if you want to make it one word, it's merge and purge. I just made that up because I can. Your word is yours, and you can drop it down below, or we can talk about it if you'd like. If you'd like me to keep you up to date on how things are working with my goal to merge and purge, I can do that too. But we are also going to do the little short series that I talked about. So let's get into the first episode of 2026. This is actually episode 15 of Sheep and Wool School, so I'm really excited about that. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is my slow stitching. I have been working on some patriotic pieces. I started them back in like May and June of last year. I finished two or three of them. I have another one that I'm still working on, but this is the one that just came and I am super excited. So I shoved everything aside and I'm going to start on Long May Ewe Wave, EWE, see what they did there. That's going to be my next project, which is going to come ahead of all of the others because it's cute and I like it, and I can do that because it's my stuff. There's no stitching police coming to get me for not finishing what I was working on before starting somebody else. So it's really cute. It's a little sheep with a flag and some patriotic nonsense, and it makes a little pillow about this big, and I just think it's going to be really cute. And I'm kind of obsessed with the doll houses, and I also have some child size or even smaller furniture. And I like to display that on the top of my pie cabinet, which was my great grandmother's, and some of the furniture at the farm. I have a dough chest that my great grandmother used for raising bread dough. So I like to put things on top of that that are just kind of, decor. And I like to put these little pillows on there for the different seasons. So the beauty of this long May Ewe Wave is I can use it for Memorial Day, the 4th of July, Labor Day, and Veterans Day. So it's like a four-fer. And I'm really excited to do that because I love things with sheep on them. I mean, don't we all? The second thing I want to talk about is what's on my wheel, which technically is my e-spinner right now. I have been struggling for the last 2.5 months with a lot of back trouble. So I have just been e-spinning because I can't really sit up for long periods of time or treadle my standard wheels. So my e-spinner has sort of come right out of retirement, and we are plowing through some really beautiful bats that I got actually more than half off at the Maryland Alpaca Fest, which was in November at the Howard County Fairgrounds where Maryland Sheep and Wool is. They are by an artist called Elsa. You can probably find her through the Maryland Alpaca Fest website, but these, I got 4 different bats. This is one of 2 matchers in the Pirate Sunset, and then I also got two teal ones that I haven't started on yet, but she had them on sale for like $15 a piece, so I bought 4, 2 of each, because they're about 3 ounces or so each. And I thought 3 ounces isn't quite enough for a skein or a project, so I should probably just go with 6, especially since they were so reasonably priced. And they're really, really beautiful and full of a lot of stuff and really fun to spin. So that's been getting me through some really dark days because if you notice, that's very red. And my partner's favorite color is red. So I'm guessing that when this is spun up, it is going to need to be a hat. Because every time I talk about my spinning, he is sitting behind the controls in our studio, pointing at his head. So it's wonderful that he is so excited about my creativity and he is so amazingly knitworthy. I mean, he's a man, so sometimes I do want to murder him in his sleep, but generally speaking, he's a really good guy and he deserves all the hats from all the hand spun. And I'm happy to make them for him when he is so appreciative of the finished project. So, I on that topic, I actually just finished a couple of things for On the Needles. I finished a couple projects, and I have another project that's on the needles. So I finished the 2 different versions of the French Toasty hat by my friend Janis Ficker from Queen City Yarn. It's a bulky hat. It knits up super duper fast. So when we're on a car ride, I just knit him a hat. And this is actually her Latta bulky in the Lake colorway. Last I checked, I believe it was on clearance and she wasn't going to be carrying it anymore. So hop on over to Queen City Yarns and check that out. It is a beautiful, round, squishy merino fiber. No, it's not merino. It's Rambouillet and something else. I can't remember. But anyways, it's one of the beautiful custom bases that she had made in this beautiful colorway. And between you and me, this blue is the same color as his eyes, and he really looks cute in it. So he really, really loves his hats. He's wearing a French Toasty right now in the studio. So I was able to make him one in the Latta bulky in the blue colorway. And then I also made myself a French Toasty from the SAFF 2025 signature colorway from Miss Babs, which was called Rainbow Trout. And then this is what's currently on my needles, which is the Bias Shawl, and the fiber in this is a linen silk, and I'm forgetting who makes this yarn, but I'll definitely put it in the show notes. But that's, it is 2 full skeins of fingering weight linen silk. I am more than halfway done. I finished the first skein, and my goal is to knit the entire second skein, but if I get tired of doing it, I may just bind it off and call it good, because it's my knitting and I make the rules. So I have a new toy. I feel like this is a confessional for some reason. So I have my Erlbacher Gerhardt vintage, antique, frustrating old metal circular sock machine that I fight with sometimes. Mostly it just stays in the closet because there's something wrong with the tension. It keeps dropping stitches, and I'm afraid I'm going to smash it on the floor if I keep trying. So I got a new to me Dean and Bean circular sock machine here locally. My friend Jennifer, who has a podcast called The Knitters Are Here, was selling her circular sock machine on Facebook Marketplace, and I recognized the name, and so I reached out to her and I said, you work in the town where I live. Could I just buy this from you? Because I've wanted a modern one to see what the difference is, to see if it's less frustrating for me. They're really reasonably priced. This one is mostly plastic and you can really replace all of the parts very easily. You don't have to have them machined or find somebody with one laying around. You can just call the company that makes them and get something new. So I just picked that up, and I, of course, just ordered 3 cones of sock yarn so that I can learn on the Dean and Bean. And I hope to go with my friend Joe this year to some of the circular sock machine retreats and crank-ins and all of that sort of thing. I'd like to get really much more involved and do a lot more intensive education for myself on how to use my 2 machines, because I feel like the first one is very frustrating, and I'm fearful of the second one because the first one is very frustrating. So I meant to take a class with Melissa of Bob and Boy at SAFF, but I was teaching 7 classes, so there really wasn't a time to do that. They were mostly just in their booth, and I didn't get over there because I was teaching 7 classes. So I need to take a class with her or one of the other luminaries in the CSM field, and really get a better handle on that, because the one thing that frustrates me more than anything else in the world is not being good at something. So I'm going to have to figure it out because it's super fun when it works. And who doesn't need more socks, especially pretty ones? And you know what? The dude behind the controls loves the hats, but has never experienced hand knitted socks. So I'm feeling like he's probably going to be a really big fan once I master my CSM. So that's my goal for 2026, is to learn the Dean and Bean and get more proficient with the Gearhart. So that brings us to the part you're here for, which is our Sheep and Wool School segment. And this month's special breed is one of my favorites, the Wensleydale. So if you are in the Ply Spinners Guild, we did a spin-in January, and we talked a lot about the Wensleydale breed, and there were a lot of really good questions, and there were a lot of folks who weren't very familiar with it, so that kind of went on my short list of breeds to do. So I just decided, after I had done that little segment in January for Ply Spinning Guild, I would do a full month of episodes on Sheep and Wool School on the Wensleydale because they're pretty fascinating. They're really beautiful. They come in beautiful shades and they just have a lot of value. This is a natural color Wensleydale. They all have this very, very dark face and ears. Their skin, when they're a natural color white animal, their skin underneath is generally a dark bluish black. And so you will have the appearance of a black face and ears as well as legs on the white sheep. And you can see it's very pronounced on this natural colored sheep. This sheep was probably actually born black and has aged to this beautiful silver, which is one of my very favorite things about natural colored sheep is the way they morph over their lifetime from very, very dark to sometimes nearly white. And you'll see it also has about a 12 to 18-inch staple length. They are a really, really big sheep. They can go anywhere from 200 to 300 pounds, which is why that most of the rams are also being used as a crossing sire for meat lambs because they are putting that big, bulky size on their offspring and also really nice fleece. So this sheep is really fascinating to me. This you can see very clearly. These are Wensleydale lambs. These are lambs on my friend's property in the UK, and you can see on the gray lamb on the right the blue skin very clearly. But then if you look at the one on the left, you can see it has the same colored skin and ears. It's very apparent there on the ears, around the eyes, and around the nose. I wish she would have looked at the camera, but she did not. But if you are into really very textural long wools, the lamb fleeces from the Wensleydales are so good for gnome beards, doll hair, Santa beards, all sorts of things, lock collars. It's just, they're just stunning. I love them. But let's talk about their history. So the few, this is one of the few breeds that we can actually nail down exactly where it came from, exactly how it started, and exactly how it was developed, which is one of the things I find very fascinating. Now, I've learned a lot about the Wensleydales because my friend James Perry, Long Draw James, he and his business partner have the largest flock of natural color Wensleydales in the UK. It's called the Ashen flock, and we actually have some of their comb top on our website at therossfarm.com. And then I was able to buy their entire clip and have that made into the Wensleydale yarns that are on our website, which is Eunice, the fingering weight, and Ashen, named for his flock, which is the Aran weight that Thea Coleman designed the last word vest in. So I've learned so much over the last couple of years about the Wensleydales, and I just find they're fascinating. So in about 1838, in England, in the North Yorkshire area, there was a ram called Blue Cap, who was supposedly the very first Wensleydale ram. And the Wensleydale breed was created by crossing some of the local sheep that were in Wensleydale with a Dishley Leicester. And if you've watched the Leicester Longwool episodes from Sheep and Wool School, you will know that Dishley Leicester is what we call now the Leicester Longwool or the English Leicester. I prefer Leicester Longwool. But if you remember correctly, Robert Bakewell was he was epic at marketing the Leicester Longwool. So he was actually able to sell a Leicester Longwool ram to someone in Wensleydale, and they crossed it on the local ewes and developed the Wensleydale breed. Now they were looking for a large carcass size because remember in the 1830s, we need to feed the family with one of these sheep, and the family is not small. And we need to, to have this heavy wool crop so that we can clothe the family, because again, the family is not small. So this 200, 300 pound animal is going to have enough groceries and enough fiber to feed and clothe your family. So that was the goal for the creation of the Wensleydale. Right now, the Rare Breed Survival Trust lists them as being at risk, so they are a conservation priority status. They are also now on the Livestock Conservancy's, I think they're on their list as well. I know Teeswater is. Wensleydale may not be yet, but they are on the Rare Breed Survival Trust priority list. These sheep, in modern terms, are tri-purpose. What does tri-purpose mean? It means they are being used for meat, milk, and fiber. I think that's really cool. A sheep this size is going to produce a lot of milk. So if you are looking for a fiber sheep that you could also make cheese with, or sheep milk soap, consider the Wensleydale. They are a heavy milking breed because they have large lambs, because they are large sheep. This is a good sheep to pick up if you can only have a few sheep and you want to do all the things. And their staple length is going to be about 12 to 18 inches. I think I mentioned that. They're in the their micron counts in the 30s. So it's not going to be wool bikini soft. You're not going to make a wool bikini out of this, but it's going to be very hard wearing. It's going to be minimally pilling, and it is going to wear like iron. It's going to be lustrous, and it is going to be really, really delightful for sweaters, shawls, outerwear. So we'll get into all of that in the coming weeks, but I just wanted to put that up there. So it is now in not only the UK, it is also in the US. So you will be able to find some here. The US has used a breed up program, and we talked about that in one of the past episodes about how exactly you do a breed up program. And we may cover that again next week. But this month, we are celebrating the Wensleydale. So I'm really excited. If you've worked with Wensleydale, drop a comment down below and let me know what you think of it. I have been sewing a little bit. As I said, I haven't been getting out of the house much because of my back issue, but when I am able to sit up, I have been sewing a little bit. So I was working on a memorial project for almost a year. I'm embarrassed to say it's taking me almost a year to get this done. But between the wrist issue I had in the spring and the back issue now, it's not been comfortable to do a lot of sewing. But my BFF Beth lost her father a year ago, and I wanted to do something for her and her sister and the rest of the family also now, to remember her father. So we used some of his favorite shirts that were sort of meaningful to them, like the shirt that you would remember Dad was wearing every Christmas, which is the one that is on your screen right now. That was his Ralph Lauren polo shirt that he wore every year for Christmas. And so I turned it into a pillow, and I'll show you the photos next week of the other project, but I'm also now, I've turned all of the scraps and the sleeves into striped mats for photo frames that they can put photos that they have of Dad in that shirt in that frame. That's like really meta, right? Like Dad in the shirt in the frame that's matted with the shirt. So I've heard that the family members who have gotten the pillows, and I can talk about this because I'm really, really sure that the rest of Beth's family, and probably Beth, is not watching my YouTube channel because they don't spin or knit. But it's not going to blow any surprises. But I've heard that the family that got them already has really loved them. I know his widow has really enjoyed the one that we sent down. So we have a couple more going out yet, but that it's kind of been a labor of love for me, and it's gotten my creative juices flowing for how I'm going to do my memorial projects for Scooter Pie with his shirts, and now the memorial projects that I'm going to do for Drew, my son. If you missed that last September, my only child passed away, but I don't like to dwell on that because we got to move forward. Yep. So doing her memorial project has kind of gotten me thinking about how I want to do memorial projects for them. And that's kind of what motivates me to keep going with my sewing journey. And I also signed up for the polka dot pin cushions 2026. Their finish a project challenge. It's the polka dot pin cushions. They're a local shop here in Ohio, and every year they have you put 14 or 15 projects on a list, and each month they draw a number, and that month you work on whatever you put on the list as that number, and it's like a finished object challenge, I guess, a work in progress challenge. So they call it a UFO challenge. That's what it was. I was losing that. I got thinking about Scooter and Drew, and I just kind of got off track. But anyways, so I'm doing that too, and that has motivated me to get a lot of stuff done. I did not complete the 2025 challenge because, as I said, wrists and back and depression. So I'm really excited to move forward with 2026 with that. And speaking of really excited, we have new yarns. I will have new yarns to show you probably every week for the next 4 or 5 weeks. These just came back from the mill here locally, and I can't wait to get them labeled and up on the website for sale. And I have another batch that is done at the local mill that I need to go pick up first of the week. So I'll show you that as well. And then I got another load in from the UK. And the next run of Funky is just about done here in the US. So I'm really excited for that to come back too. And you guys will be the first to see it. I post everything on social media, and I show it to you here on the YouTube channel. And I'm just really looking forward to some of the craziness that we've gotten. We also got back some really beautiful blank bases that I'm going to dye, and I'm also going to have available for indie dyers who would like to use something U.S. raised, shorn, and processed, rather than facing all the tariffs to ship the stuff back into this country. So this was all made here locally to us, probably within about a 250-mile radius. Everything occurred. So that is available if you are an indie dyer or you know an indie dyer and you would like to use some of our oddball breeds. We do have that. We also now have a wholesale line if you have a local yarn shop that you think might be interested in carrying the stuff. Here's my very, very most favorite thing. I can't wait to tell you. I am so excited about this. And this is something that has actually been in the works for 7 years. The UK Sheep Tour is planned. It's all done. We are working with Celtic Journeys to coordinate all of our travel, and we are going on an epic sheep adventure. It is Sheep and Wool School Abroad. We are starting in London. We are going all the way through England. We are going to farms and distilleries and farms and more farms, and we are talking to shepherds, and we are meeting sheep, and we are eating scones and drinking tea and having a pint and visiting a distillery and another farm and another farm and another farm until we get all the way to Edinburgh. And along the way, we will be taking a couple of classes with some local teachers. So I'm really, really excited about this. If you've been following for any time, you know that Scooter and I did our dry run reconnaissance mission in June of 2019 with my friend Janis and her husband Brian, and we kind of scouted out the areas that we wanted to take our tour to and met our friends over there and kind of coordinated how exactly this would work. And part of this tour is we are actually going to go to a British sheep show so that we can see all of the sheep in one place, all of the best of all of the different breeds, all in one place. So that's very exciting to me. I really want people to experience and connect with the sheep that I'm always talking about. So, I mean, what's better than listening to me talk about how awesome Wensleydales are, but like listening to me talk about how awesome they are while you're actually scratching a Wensleydale's ears? I mean, that to me is the most epic of sheep adventures. So you can email me at info@therossfarm.com to get the itinerary and all of the information, costs, etc. And then we will have registration through the tour company. So I'm really, really excited about that. I'm also really excited that hopefully later in the year, I am going to be going on a new reconnaissance mission to research and visit another area for our 2027 and 2028 tours. And I really cannot wait to do some sheepy travel with you guys. I hope that there will be some of you that will be able to go along with us. And I hope that you'll help me to spread the word about the trip so that we can get enough people registered that we can actually run it. So I'm really, really excited about the sheep tour. And I hope you guys are too. It's going to be epic. I just can't wait. I know exactly what I want to eat at all of the different locations. And pro tip, many, if not all, of the pubs, besides having beer on tap, they also have hard cider. And I don't really like the taste of beer, but I love the taste of cider. And there is this strawberry apple hard cider in the UK that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So I may have to actually have a glass of cider with my meals, which is crazy for me because I really don't drink here in the US at all. But when we're in the UK, it's so delicious. It's either tea or this apple cider, hard apple cider. So it's going to be a great. Which brings me to the other thing that I'm really, really excited about, which is my participation in the Ply Online Spinners Guild episodes. So they do 4 or 6, I can't remember, episodes each year. When you're a member of the guild, you get to go to all of the virtual spin-ins, and you also have access to these episodes that they produce that are sort of taking that issue that has just come out and then expounding on it with makers and craftspeople and experts in the field. And JC just brought me to Oregon in January to record several segments for the 2026 episodes of Ply Spinners Guild. And I talked about all sorts of breeds that were good for whatever the topic was. And then in the photo that I'm sharing here, you can see her recording me talking about this. But I also did a little segment where I showed how to skirt a fleece and how to decide what needs to be discarded and how to go about the process of preparing a whole raw fleece or portion of a raw fleece for carding, combing, spinning, weaving, knitting, etc. So that was probably my favorite thing to talk about with JC, and we had such a wonderful time. And I absolutely love her cats. And I sort of had a personal cat therapist while I was there. With my back issue, I would have to go and lay on the couch while she was setting up for the next segment, and her cat would come over and lay on my chest and make biscuits and purr and talk to me. And that was really delightful. And if you're ever in Bend, Oregon, you should definitely stay at the Campfire Motel. It is it is just delightful. It's like an old vintage motel building, but they have totally renovated it, and it just feels like going to summer camp. And every room has a guitar on the wall that you are welcome to take down and play if that's your thing and the mood strikes. And every evening they have a fire pit and they have this beautiful pool. It, of course, was very frigid while I was there, so I was not in the water, but I really, really enjoyed the adorable little hotel. So if you ever get to Bend, Oregon, I highly recommend it. Yeah. So, guess what's in season right now? Not only just snow and ice and frigid temps, I'm making soups and stews and comfort food, and we are having lambs. These folks were not expected until February at the very earliest, but we had some surprises and they started coming on Christmas Eve. And so these guys are a couple weeks old in this photo, but Melinda is taking really good care of them, and we are now up to about a dozen lambs. These are the Shetlands that were born about a week or so ago. The color and patterns on them are pretty epic. This one is just solid black with a white markings on her top of her head. So of course those two we named Jack Napier and Selena Kyle after Scooter Pie's love of Batman. And if you look closely at the first colored lamb that I showed you, he looks like the Joker. And Jack Napier is supposedly the real name of the Joker. But yeah, if you really look at any of the Jokers in the comic books or the movies, the dark around the eyes and that big exaggerated smile, I just looked at him and thought, oh, Scooter would love you, buddy. Scooter would love you. And of course, that one is a ram lamb who will be kept intact. So if you have a flock of Shetlands and are looking for somebody with really great color and markings, Jack will be leaving. And if you know us, you know most of our rams are named Jack for some reason. That started many, many, many years ago when we were out of town when a pair of twins were born, and the kids knew that Scooter named all of his Shetlands after whiskey, but what they didn't catch was Scotch whiskey, and they all had Scottish or Gaelic names. And so they named the twins Jack Daniels. And since he was Jack, they named the girl Jill. So we had little Jill and Jack Daniels. So then he was very beautifully marked. We kept him, and then all of his sons who looked exactly like him ended up being like Jacques and not Jack and not Jack and still not Jack. And so when we named him Jack Napier, I just kind of giggled and thought, yeah, Scooter Pot, he would approve. So we also just had a set of Hog Island lambs. They are also a boy and a girl. One is black and one is spotted. The girl is spotted, the male is black, and they both have horns. So the gentleman will be kept intact as well and likely available if you have a flock of Hog Islands and you are looking for a horned black ram. He has been born. He just has to get raised by his mama, and then he will probably be available too. but the lambs are just so absolutely adorable. And if you want to hop on over to my Facebook page, you can see some videos of them running and playing in the barn, because that's my favorite part, is popcorning when they go pew, 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 and then they zoomies, 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 pew, 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 pew. It's just my favorite thing in the whole world. And what has been driving me absolutely insane about being snowed in Ohio with this last big winter storm Fern or whatever it was, is that I couldn't get down there to play with the lambs. So I'm getting there. We've we've shoveled out. It's still really cold, but the roads are pretty clear, and I'm going to head for Pennsylvania just as soon as I can. So that was very, very, very exciting. I had a lot to report. I'm sorry if this one's a little bit long, but I definitely wanted to give you a lot of content on Wensleydale's and catch you up a little bit about why we haven't been back since last summer. And speaking of coming back, this is on down the road, and in March, just about 6 weeks away, we will be showing up in Raleigh, North Carolina for the Carolina Fiber Festival. Can't wait to go see our friends down there. Hillside Farm is the organizer of Carolina Fiber Festival, and I just love all of them. Can't wait to see them and give them big hugs around their neck and eat all the barbecue I can, because I'm just going to the shows that have the good food, and Raleigh, man, they've got it. And then in April, we will be back at Nash Yarn Fest in Nashville. That one is put on by the Modern Daily Knitting Crew. And we had such a good time last year. And that means I get to see all of my Nashville friends and go to House of Yarn and Bliss and go to the Loveless Cafe for biscuits and Peg Leg Porker for barbecue. And yeah, I'm going to do the whole Fiber Festival thing too, but there's going to be barbecue and biscuits, and that's kind of what I live for. So we'll be doing that. And then in May, we're headed out to Maryland Sheep and Wool for crab cakes. Yeah, if we're going to talk about all the food at the fiber festivals, I go to Maryland Sheep and Wool because there are crab cakes. And I just got off the phone with Lee Langstaff, and the Ross Farm will be sponsoring 4 of the classes in the Fleece and Wool show and sale. And I'm very excited to do that. We will provide a prize for the best of that breed in the fiber show and sale. So I'm really excited about that. I'll have more details about that soon. But if you are raising rare breeds, I'm here to tell you I've probably sponsored a super prize for you at Maryland Sheep and Wool, because you know me, and a rising tide lifts all boats, man. So we got to just keep supporting all of those rare breed shepherds and making it easier for them to be able to afford to raise the sheep. So every little bit I can do, I'm going to keep doing. And until next week, you can visit us over on the website at therossfarm.com. You can follow us on Facebook at Ross Farm Fibers, on Instagram as Ross Farm, or drop me an email either through the website or at info@therossfarm.com. And you've already found us here on YouTube. That's Ross Farm Fibers as well. And until next week, we'll see you real soon.